the class leading.
Are we doing it? Yep. Are we?
Next
Director Walker? We have students.
Y'all get up here, please.
Okay, we're on you.
I still reaches to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll take a moment for silent reflection. Is that bachelorette? Sure, is it baccalaureate? I didn't know if it was a typo or what. Service Sunday, May 11th at 3 p.m. at Garden City High School Auditorium. 4 more board members may be in attendance. And we have the Garden City High School Hall of Fame induction ceremony, May 16th at 5:30 p.m. The Garden City High School. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. Garden City Achieve and Virtual Academy graduation, May 17th at 10:30 a.m. at Horace Good Middle School. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. And finally, Garden City High School graduation, May 18th at 1 p.m. at the Garden City High School. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. Item D, approval of agenda. One amendment's at item D1, additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration, item F3.
Okay, Mr. President, I move to approve as amended.
Second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item E, delegations and public comments. Levi Burnfin.
Somebody else will string it out the way.
Yeah, Levi Burnfin, teacher at Garden City High School, GCEA lead negotiator. Support of Julie Colbridge and Alta Brown. Julie Colbridge is retiring from Alta Brown, and I cannot say enough about how much of an impact she has made on my children's lives. My son was at a different school for a little bit, did not have a good experience, was pre-identified, moved to Alta Brown. They worked with him before an IEP, before a 504. They understood some of the challenges that he was facing. And Julie took that on head first, and he has grown tremendously at that school. And he is now identified, has had the supports throughout the entire time. He's had 3 first-year teachers who Julie has helped support, who have given him fantastic supports in the classroom, a fantastic education. And he just won Student of the Month this month, and we are super proud of him. Anybody in the district would be lucky to go to Alta Brown and would have been lucky to have Julie as their principal. And so I just wanted to thank her, thank the district for having her in your district for so long, because she was amazing. Thank you.
Okay, item E1, recognition of Ronald McDonald House, the Pop Tab Challenge winning school, Amy Birch.
Good evening. This is my first year doing this. I think you're used to seeing Janet and Roger Reed up here. I took it over from them since they retired. So I'm here to present the 2024-2025 Ronald McDonald Charity Pop Tab Challenge between the schools. We had 7 schools that participated. We gathered 284.7 pounds of pop tabs that will be donated to the Ronald McDonald House. This actually helps us in Southwest Kansas be able to be with loved ones while they're either being treated or in the hospital if you have a minor. Ronald McDonald House in Wichita served 1,287 families in 2024. And that meant 6,355 nights that families were able to stay right there by their loved one while they were going through treatment. I really appreciate USD 457 for allowing me to do this and for this competition to go on. I really feel like it's a great cause. This year's winner is Georgia Matthews. They've won it the last 3 years. Is there anybody from George Matthews here? I'll make sure and get this to them.
I can take it to the floor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Item E2, recognition of KNEA Just Imagine Justice Campaign Award winners. Rebecca Burpin, who's the sponsor. And Ronnie Knight. Right?
So I am Ronnie and I am the GCA president, the local president. And so ANEA has a scholarship program for students and it's called the Student Expression Campaign. And so basically these students are asked, what does social and racial justice mean and look like to you? It's available to anybody in 9th through 12th grade. They must have a KNEA member sponsor, but it doesn't have to be their teacher. We had someone in the district that needed a sponsor, then they could reach out and ask me as the local president to sponsor them or any member. So last year, we had 6 of 10 of the winners and Becca blew them away with her students. So that kind of created a little competition. So this year, Olathe kind of tried to jump in and take a few, but this year we still had 4 out of 8 of the awards. And Alfredo also had students that participated. So I'm gonna let them talk now.
I don't really know what to say. Last year I was at this conference and I got to see Becca and I got to see her students be a part of that. And that kind of inspired me a little bit to get involved with it. So I asked her a few questions. I found out a little bit more about the process of getting involved with this project and I jumped into it this year. It was in the middle of having some of the snow days that we had, so it was kind of a short week when I gave this project to my students. But we were learning about civil rights and what young people can do to change the world. So that's kind of how I tied it into my curriculum and what I was doing. And I gave students the option of entering into the contest if they wanted to. They knew there was some money involved with it. Some of them made the decision not to enter the contest, but I had quite a few of them that did. And it was something that really paid off for the ones that, decided to join and see what would happen. And Ruby was one of those.
I teach social studies. So an important note is that the teachers are all kinds of teachers. We have like digital, marketing, art, social studies, ELA. So for social studies, my 10th graders, which would be Natalie and Rosalind, this came at the end of the French Revolution where we see the Declaration of Rights in Man. Which is what we have today in US history that kind of mimics our Bill of Rights. And they look at that and they get the question posed to them. And it gives them so many options of what to produce. It's open-ended. They get to choose what that looks like to them. And then for 11th grade, which is Elazar's, they start in 11th grade, post-Civil War, so Reconstruction, all the way to the Progressive Era. And so we look at the whole semester, all the topics, and they get the same question posed to them. And so Elazar is my single 11th grade winner this year from that. We're gonna turn it over to the students and let them kind of just tell you what they produced and maybe what it meant to them or what their idea is. You have their work. It's also published online. But this is a great opportunity for our winners. They already got their scholarship money. They got to go to Wichita to celebrate, and it's paid for by the NEA. So it's a great experience for the families as well. So I'll start with Elzar. He's gonna tell you what an amazing on-time student he is.
Hello, as you can see, my drawing was the drawing that says we all bleed the same. Now, me personally, if I'm looking at it, I thought, well, it's not as good as the other ones, and that's because me being a high schooler, I did a little bit of procrastination. But I guess it still comes to show you that no matter what you're thinking, it always matters, even if you turn in the assignment late or whatever you're doing, whatever you think matters. And when Miss Burnford gave me this assignment, I was thinking, what do I do for this assignment? And after, of course, my procrastination, that's just kind of what I fell on, because that's just really what came into my heart to draw. And yeah.
Ruby's an ASL student, so sometimes she's a little bit shy when it comes to speaking English in front of large groups of people. ¿Qué fue lo que te inspiró para crear tu arte que entregaste?
Okay, so lo que me inspiró en hacerlo es sobre el machismo hacia el hombre, la violencia que tienen los hombres hacia las mujeres al ellos pensar que podrían cambiar las cosas golpeando, insultando, creen que ellos tienen más la razón que las mujeres, también por algunas mujeres que son.
Okay, so her project is towards the end. She said something that inspired her. It's just something that in the world she notices that there's a lot of machismo. There's violence against women who get murdered regularly, and that's something that she wants to change in the world. She eventually hopes that there's not so many, I guess, differences in how men and women are treated in the world, and that's what inspired her to make the project that she made.
This is Rosalind Sanchez. She has the one-page poem about being a brown girl.
What inspired me to make this poem was being kind of like described as different because of the way that I looked or like acted. I kind of like based it off of like viewing like my family and like the way that I like grew up and like the way that I like should represent.
Natalie has the 3-page long poem that you probably can't get to tonight, but it's very, very much worth your time, about how she perceives religion.
So first and foremost, I always try to keep everything centered around Jesus Christ and what he's doing in my life and in the world. And so especially being a teenager, it's hard to stay on the narrow path, but it's very important because it leads to eternal life. And so in this poem, if I have any opportunity to, maybe plant a seed in someone's life, I'm gonna take the opportunity. And so that's what my goal is.
Did you want to shake their hand or do you have any questions
Yeah.
for them before that?
Yeah, Julie, is there any questions? No, yeah, if they'd come up here and we'd like to shake hands, and please take a pin of one of the two if you would like one, you can have one for sure.
Good job, congratulations.
Good job.
Good job.
Danny, good job.
Good job.
Good job.
Nice job.
Good job. Outstanding. Thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Now let's get a picture of them,
Up there.
and their sponsors too.
Sponsors right.
It does good. Take a picture. All right, we're gonna act like we know each other. Yeah, you students move up a little bit there.
You.
One. Can't see Randy.
There's
Randy.
There.
1, 2. Got it.
Almost got away.
You
Good
guys.
job, guys.
So close.
Okay. Move on to item E3, the building presentation for Gertrude Walker Elementary School. David Deloach, principal.
Yeah, I'm David Deloach, principal at Gertrude Walker. And I've got several of our Gertrude Walker student council members with me that are going to do a presentation on Gertrude Walker and share a little bit of what we do there. And they will introduce themselves and then give a little presentation. Okay, all right, go ahead.
My name is Sophia Corona and I serve as the Gertrude Walker Student Council President. My name is Ileana Martin and I serve as the Gertrude Walker Student Council Treasurer. My name is Chris Niall Andrew and I serve as the Gertrude Walker Student Council Publicist. My name is Ariana and I serve as the Student Council Representative. Our school mission, a model learning environment preparing lifelong learners to become exemplary citizens. Our vision, striving to become the top elementary school in Garden City, Kansas. At Gertrude Walker, we have 187 students, 2 sections of kindergarten through 3rd grade, and 1 section of 4th grade. We are 85% free and reduced lunch and have 9 different languages represented at our school, including English, Burmese, Creole, Oromo, Rohingya, Somali, Spanish, Taringa, and Trin. At Gertrude Walker, home of the Dolphins, we practice making waves. W, wise decisions. A, ambitious. V, value self and others. E, encourage. And S, self-reliant. There are expectations in each area of the building for us to learn and follow, such as walking through the hall at a voice level 0, encouraging others when they are down, and trying things first before we ask for help. When students are taught making waves, they can receive a wave slip. One wave slip is for individual students making waves and other is for when the whole classroom is making waves. Classrooms can earn a pizza party if they earn enough classroom waves, and we draw waves every Friday for an office prize. At Gertrude Walker, we have restorative practices. Tier 1 are classroom circles, where each week classrooms build relationships and solve problems. Tier 2 is for classroom teachers to lead small groups of students through solving conflicts and for reducing discipline. Tier 3 is for addressing major conflicts and restoring relationships with students, teachers, and families. When we make mistakes, we are asked to take ownership, make amends, and repair relationships. Ways and restorative practices have greatly reduced discipline us to focus more on academics more and more each year since 2022 school year. This year, we all started writing our own academic goals and charting our progress each week. When we met our goal, we write a new one. We also get to put our pictures up on the goal board when we are making progress towards our classroom goals. Our goal is to reach 80% typical to aggressive growth in each classroom. Ways our school involves families and communities, including family learning nights, family picnics, and family meals. Fundraising for soccer goals that are used by our school and community family. Participating in homecoming parade and raising money for the Salvation Army during the Red Kettle Challenge.
Thank you for the opportunity to share about our school. Have a great day, Dolphins. Have any questions for us?
Great job, guys.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I went to the board faculty meeting over there a couple months ago and really enjoyed that. The excitement you guys have in your school in the morning and I thought that was great. So I sure appreciate you guys just being energetic students and excited to learn.
I appreciate you guys presenting for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good job.
Good job. Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Outstanding. Good job. Good job. Yeah.
Good job.
Good job. Congratulations.
Yeah, you guys. Dr. D wants to pick.
You guys get in here, big, big. You guys gonna be on the front row, be in front of the school. There you go.
That's perfect.
Right there.
Right there.
One, two, three.
Good job.
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, item F, the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move to approve all consent agenda items as amended.
Moved and seconded to approve. the-
Excuse me.
Approve the consent agenda as listed. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item G, unfinished business. G1, Grow Well Clinic, CFO Jessica Nava.
All right, as you guys remember, we're actually looking for action taken on the Grow Well. It would be my recommendation to move forward with both the master service agreement and the mental wellness component as well. Again, after just vetting it out different ways, I just think it's a very good opportunity to add a rich benefit for our staff and their dependents that are on our health plan. I've done the math several different ways and just feel comfortable with where our health reserve fund is. And can answer any questions that you guys might have.
It was the 3-year contract, right?
Correct. Yep. Yep, and we'll be, upon approval, if you choose to approve, we'll be moving all of our DOT physicals. We'll, do our EAP, we'll move that mental health component over. We'll take our work comp there for everything that they can do there. And Grow Well has been in contact with all the building principals
set up times. If it is in fact improved tonight, they'll be going out to each individual building and kind of giving them a promotion about what services they offer and when they'll start seeing clients, so.
Motion to approve the robo thing, and mental. Proposal as presented.
Move and second to approve the roll of proposal. Opposed, same, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item G2, the YMCA Dome discussion, Chief HRO. Tell him, Chief.
Well, or not move forward with the proposal from the YMCA on the purchase of the YMCA dome. If you have any questions, I'm going to direct them all towards Jim.
A couple of things.
You can-
Maybe I can limit questions by maybe answering a few. So the things that you have in front of you are the facilities use agreement, which is also part of this negotiation that we've done towards the sale of the dome from the YMCA to the school district. So you have two agreements that you're signing as part of this deal. You are spending $100,000 to purchase the dome and become full owners. The YMCA's board has already passed this and they have already signed both agreements. It does give the control of all aspects of use to USD 457 for any use that we may want to use the dome for, which is not exactly as our agreement was laid out previously. And it also limits our exposure to anything that the Y did or contracted as part of the Y prior to us taking it over. So we would be starting fresh on our own terms. So happy to answer any questions about anything that's in the agreement or in the facilities use agreement as well.
So Jennifer, any agreements the Y has entered into, whether it be a maintenance agreement, whatever kind of agreement, this would protect us from that.
Exactly. We have a clause.
They would still be responsible for whatever they did.
Exactly. So anything that they purchased relative to it, any agreements that they entered relative to it, including use or, like you said, maintenance or, I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but anything related to the dome that they signed a contract for that they were responsible for, they're still responsible for. And we're only responsible moving forward for anything that we sign up for, anything that we agree to, and then obviously making the payment for this purchase and for taking it over, we're responsible for that.
Property taxes,
So
sorry.
that's okay. So property taxes are different and you don't contract to pay property taxes. Property taxes run with the land or in this case, the TARP, because we own the land. Where the dome sits is owned by the school district. And so the property taxes related to the land have always been our responsibility and we are tax exempt. And so we don't pay property tax for that land or for the concrete or for the footers that are part of the concrete. We don't pay any of that. However, yes, the school district could be responsible under this purchase agreement for taxes related to the structure. But you could also become responsible under the current agreement that you're under, should the Y not choose to take it down under that agreement, and should they choose to leave it up, you could also become responsible in that situation. Obviously, that's a whole other conversation, an entirely different thing not related to this agreement or other agreement. I think both of those land you in the same situation.
Get a copy of the final stuff?
Should have.
And I can't get the,
It's not in there. I didn't see it, so it's not in there.
Well, I have the signed copies here and we can definitely make copies of them if you guys want to see them. It was my understanding that you guys had seen them. You guys can also receive copies and you can move it to another meeting if you want to do that. You're welcome to. Whatever you prefer.
I don't think it needs to move to another meeting. I mean, nothing's changed from last ones, yeah. I have seen them, so.
Same one that we got like a month ago-ish.
The ones that I drafted. So the agreements that I worked out with Terry Darden, who is the board president for YMCA, there's been no changes made to either of those agreements.
That we
Those
got
are,
like last month.
those were drafted by me.
Then I,
Questions? So we need to move with the motion if somebody wants to make.
Mr. President, I move to approve the sale agreement and the facilities use agreement as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve of the purchase of the YMCA dome. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Item H, new business. H1, Board of Education. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a quote from Creative Floors to sand, seal, paint, lines, and lettering, and finish on gym floors at Florence Wilson Elementary School in the amount of $30,541. Director of Plant Facilities, Brandon Anders.
So the next two items will be related to this, having Creative Floors back to town to work on these two floors. They'll also be redoing a floor at Kenneth Henderson while they're here, one that didn't meet our standards, and so they will be redoing that floor as well. We do just have the quotes from Creative Floors. My understanding is it's difficult to get on schedules for companies that come and refinish gym floors. And my experience in Western Kansas is too, it's harder to find these types of individuals that can get into their cycles. So these quotes, because they exceed $20,000, are presented to y'all tonight. The first one is, maybe you were correct. Florence Wilson, sorry, for $25,485. The next item will be the AP. They're listed as two separate items on the agenda that I had, but in the agenda item, it has both of them listed. The quotes, though, are in different items. So whichever one y'all have first on yours, I'll entertain questions for that one. Dave Huber's $30,541, and Florence Wilson is $25,485.
do we have a backwards on it?
No. It is backwards.
The dollar amount on the agenda.
Have they learned a little bit from why they have to come back with?
They've done us a good job on all the other floors that we've used them quite a bit. They just didn't have a good experience with Kenneth Henderson, so they're gonna get to practice again on that one.
Okay.
But they're doing that on their.
Okay.
I can explain a little on what happened with the KH floor. When they did the KH floor, that was 2 years ago now, or last summer.
Yeah.
They had to use, there's a specific paint that you use on floors, on gym floors that you use to cover because of the moisture coming out of the floors. When they did that floor, they had to use local paint, which should have worked, but they got bad paint out of, from one of the local people here in town. They acknowledged it right away that when it started chipping, they acknowledged it right away that they were gonna have to come out and repaint the floor. And said that they would do that free of charge. So it was pretty immediate. We've worked well with them in the past. We've used these guys for a number of years. They've done most of our. They worked well. It was just getting that specific paint color. They tried to go local with it and they should.
One other item I might mention too is this particular group is also one that we reached out to, and you may have heard some of the flooring that we put into some of the gyms at the elementary doesn't have basketball floor markings on them. And they are actually, we've asked the principals at those schools whether or not they want those courts marked or not. And they found a paint that adheres well to that product, and they're gonna be painting the ones that have said they want it painted, so. Like Drew said, we've worked with them quite a bit, and they've been a good partner, but no, that one wasn't good, but they quickly realized that it was their fault.
Right, or will be on the consent agenda next?
It can be on the consent agenda next time, that's fine. These are just summer projects. We are on their schedule. And I guess if we decide not to do it, then we wouldn't be on their schedule, but certainly not that big a rush. It can wait till the end of the month. Any other questions?
We do just every summer, are we doing gym floors somewhere, or is this just,
Usually
how long do they
somewhere,
last, I guess? is what-
usually somewhere we'll do a floor, a resurface of one of the gym floors. And maybe not, I don't know how many of those ones that we've replaced with non-wood floors used to be wood, maybe that would go down, but I'm gonna say every 5 to 10 years, probably need to be working.
Yeah, we'll get
Some of the
about,
higher use courts, more than that.
we'll get about 10 years out of a wood floor before you have to strip it down and repaint it. It's generally how long ours last. We get, especially at the elementaries, a lot of kids are using normal shoes on those elementary floors, and so that's a lot of wear and tear. Brandon and his crew, they do most of the refinishing work. So we do most of the refinishing work in-house when we can. So we do save significantly because every summer we're not paying somebody to come in and do the refinish work for us. He's got a crew that does a good job of doing that, but the sand downs, it's normal about once every 10 years. And those floors, depending on the thickness, you can get anywhere. Like our high school floor is a really nice floor, so we'll get probably 60 years out of that floor if we take care of it. The Florence Wilson floor is actually really nice.
Item H3, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the following curriculum council items. Deputy Superintendent Josh Guyman. And Associate Principal at the high school, Dr. Virginia Duncan.
Well, I'm gonna let Dr. Duncan kind of talk. She and I have been visiting. One of the things that we've talked about is I feel like we're in front of you all about once a month to talk about classes that we want to do dual credits for and things like that. And so I think she's kind of come up with a plan. So I'm gonna kind of let her share that so that maybe we won't have to be bugging you all as much moving forward.
So, I won't take credit for this plan because our counselors came up with it. So this year we did feel like we were frequently in front of you all trying to seek approval for classes, and it became a little overwhelming, I think, for everybody. We would like to create a clearer process to streamline those classes, and what we're offering is dual credit, high school dual credit classes in partnership with college. So what I passed out to you is the Kansas Board of Regents buckets, which are classes that if they take at Garden City Community College or any Kansas university will transfer. So we thought that that would be a high priority to make sure that we're offering those classes for students to take as dual credit. And then in addition to that, we have our CTE pathways that are copied on the back for you also. So we went through and identified anything that we were missing that was either KBOR or CTE pathways. And Those items, those classes are the list that you have in front of you. Those are the only things that we're missing to complete those K-Board buckets and the CTE pathways. So we would offer dual credit for, moving forward, we would kind of condense anything that, it's not just a free-for-all, any student can take any class and get dual credit for it. It would be anything that, like if we're gonna create a new course and offer a new course, it would be related directly back to the K-Board buckets or to the CTE pathways. We were not going to eliminate anything that's already approved. So if there's something that's already been before you, students can still take that. The other thing of note is that if students wanted to take classes, they still can. We just wouldn't offer dual credit for it if it's something that's not on the K-Board or CTE pathways. Further things.
So the list of courses that we have, that we're requesting approval for would be the courses that would finish out that list that Dr. Duncan just explained.
And then the only thing we would bring before you, other than that, in following years would be if, or if the college changed a name and we need to change the name to adjust that mapping, we would do that also, so. But it would kind of clean up the process for what we offer as dual credit, and it would set students up for success to make sure that they can transfer their credits.
We spoken to the community colleges about this. I mean, are they aware of it? Or-
Well, we have our agreement with the community college, and basically the agreement says that we can choose which things that we're going to offer as dual credit or not. So the agreement between us just says that we can offer dual credit.
That was, you answered my question. I was
Okay.
gonna be, are they gonna be like, no, you
Nope.
can't do that, or?
Yep. We looked over the agreement to make sure that we were gonna be in bounds.
How are, maybe it varies from course to course, but how are these taught?
Some of them are taught, it's a whole mixture. Some of them do online, provided through the college. Some of them do, they go in person. So it's a mixture depending on what it is.
You say in person to the college to take?
Sometimes, yeah, because we do have our US history teacher that comes in and teaches the college class in the morning. So sometimes we have, when available, a teacher that comes, sometimes they go there. And then sometimes it's an online course through the college and we have an on-site proctor.
Depends on what class it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you foresee in the future more like issues with classes transferring?
I don't believe so. Mm-mm. I mean, each university kind of has its own way of like deciding which classes transfer, but what we like about the K-Board list is that those are classes that all Kansas universities agree that they will transfer.
You think they'll limit that in the future, or?
I haven't heard anything like that, so I don't believe so.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, we got consent agenda. The next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item H3K, well, that's, H4, Teacher Apprentice Program. Chief Human Resource Officer Drew Tone.
Okay, again, Drew Tone, Chief HR Officer, but tonight I brought with me Leanne Tone. Leanne is the HR Coordinator, no relation. Her family's from Michigan, not her family, her husband's family was from Michigan, but the only other Tone I know. So anyway, what we wanted to come in front of you guys tonight is asking for approval of the teacher apprentice program. I'm gonna let Leanne kind of lead the presentation, but what the teacher apprentice program is a couple of years back, the state of Kansas expanded the apprenticeships that they're able to offer in the state of Kansas to teachers. We, in our district, we kind of drug our feet just wanting to know what it was actually going to look like before we went ahead and adopted the teacher apprentice program. We have every other pathway to become a teacher. After a year of watching how the apprentice program worked in the state of Kansas, we finally made the decision this is something we want to go ahead and move forward and ask your permission to do. So, Leanne, I'm going to let you talk and I'll run and navigate the slides.
So the apprentice program is designed by KSTE. There are a lot of stipulations that they have for us if we're going to implement this. But part of it is defining what an apprentice teacher is. So there's someone who is going to work alongside a highly effective mentor teacher. They're going to get on the job training and we're going to grow them from the ground up. So they might be somebody with some classroom experience. They might be somebody who just graduated high school, but they're going to be learning alongside someone through their 4 years in the program at most, depending on where they're at when they get started. So they're not going to be the teacher of record. They're still going to work alongside somebody else. They're going to be employed by us full time. And another stipulation is that they have to be able to enroll in teacher prep program. They can choose whichever one they want, but they have to be enrolled in one of those. And then they're going to attend some professional development. We're going to put them on the same teacher contract that we would any other teacher so that they can get that extra on the job training as well. So why do we want to implement a teacher apprentice program? Obviously, staffing shortages. We're coming up with every kind of creative way we can to get teachers in the classroom. And growing our own seems to be one of the most effective that we've found. We go to career fairs, we do all these other things, but growing our own has proven to be the most effective. So we also want to retain our staff. So these are going to be paras. They're going to be a lot of people maybe we've already hired, and then we'll continue to keep them on. They're going to also get the hands-on prep. So they're never going to be a first-year teacher. They're going to go through that training, and their first year is actually going to be potentially their 5th year in a classroom. We'll also grow our mentor teachers. They're going to continue to develop that capacity as leaders as well, which aligns with our Everyone Leads. So they're going to earn while they learn. We like that saying. So they can make money while they're learning in the classroom and learning through their college courses. Going to college is really expensive. So they're going to get some funding from KSTE to help pay for their tuition, their books, their fees. And we'll also get some funding in this, and I'll talk about that a little bit later for our mentor teachers. That one-on-one mentorship is really going to help as well. We have a mentor program. We're bulking that up as well for all of our new teachers, but getting that on-the-job training for any job, no matter where you're at, is going to definitely help build them and make them the best teachers that they can be. And then that seamless transition, so they actually will not have their traditional student teaching semester like they would normally. That's going to be just all rolled into this whole program. So the four biggest parts of the program is their coursework. So they have to be enrolled in classes. It's going to be pretty rigorous. If they are just starting from the ground, 4 years it's pretty quick. They're going to have to be full-time in college classes. But that's part of it. The mentorship is another big piece. We will pay our mentors, our guiding teachers, to help really give them that time and that effort as well. The tiered classroom experience is another big part of it. So we will assess where they're at every semester and give them goals. They're going to, as time goes on, they're going to take over. They're going to create some lessons. They're going to teach some more lessons. They're going to grade some papers. And as time goes on, that's just going to roll into being the person leading the class. And then the professional development piece is also really important. We don't want them to miss out on anything that they would otherwise, not have. They're going to go to all those same teacher in service days with their mentor teacher. So who can apply this? We will open it internally. We're also required to open it externally. We might find some great candidates that way as well. They have to complete the application through KSDE, which we have a portion of it and they will have a portion of it. So we'll do that together. They have to be enrolled or able to enroll in a teacher program. I've said that. And then we're going to ask that they commit to us for 2 years once they've completed the program. We'll have to keep the application up for 2 weeks. That's just a KSDE requirement. We do have to get those applications to KSDE by June 1st. So it's going to be a little bit of a quick turnaround, but we're going to be able to get those teachers in or apprentices in, interview them and find out who's going to be the best to start in the fall. So we'll be in on interviews, Drew or myself will be in on those, and then whichever principal, so that we can definitely find who is going to be the most committed to the program. And then of course we'll get reference checks, or we'll have admin recommendations if they're current staff members. So the starting wage for this, we have put them at a grade 13. This is going to be a wage where because they're going to have some responsibilities, that's kind of where we've placed that. KSDE had a minimum, and we also have to give them some progression over time because we are asking them to take over the classroom and those classroom responsibilities. Every year they'll have a minimum pay raise. I mean, very similar to how our staff gets a step raise every year. They'll get the same benefits and time off that any other classified staff member would have. They'll be on teacher contract, which is 181.5 days. We'll provide them opportunities to work in the summer. That's another KSDE requirement. So the tuition funds from KSDE will go to the student, to the apprentice. They'll also provide that money for a guiding teacher stipend and give us some administrative costs as well, because there's a lot of work that goes into all of these things to get it started and then to keep up with it, to meet with them, all of that good stuff. And then we can use SPED funds for those apprentices that are working with SPED students. If they're in a general education program, we won't be able to do that, but if they're going through a SPED program, we can use SPED funds for that as well. So what their responsibility is going to be is they're gonna secure their hiring with us, and then complete all of the paperwork for KSDE. They've got to be enrolled, they got to fill out the FAFSA, and they've got to apply for scholarships and other financial aid that they may be eligible for. And then they just have to give us their degree plan as well. Our guiding teacher is going to do sort of what our mentor teachers do, but they will work even closer with that apprentice. So they're going to be somebody that's recommended by our admin. They're going to be highly effective. And they're going to work really hard to model those lessons so that apprentice can see exactly what a good lesson looks like. They're also going to provide that feedback to the apprentice and help meet with them and their admin to create those goals and plan the next goals. So our principals, again, they're going to meet with everybody. They're going to help facilitate that goal creating. There's a rubric that they'll follow to make sure they're meeting that. And they do need to meet every semester to update those. And then we will also, in our office, we're going to assess the apprentice's experience. So KSDE has provided us some really good guidelines for, if somebody has 10 years of para experience, we're not going to put them right there at that base. They're going to have had some classroom experience. So we'll kind of look at that and see maybe where they fall in that. It shouldn't be any more than 4 years, but they might fall somewhere in there depending on where they're at with classes and experience. So what we are proposing is that we open 5 teacher apprentice positions for the fall or for the next school year. We decided 5 would be a good number so that we could commit the time to this. We really want to grow these teachers. We don't want to go crazy. I mean, obviously we would love to hire 30 apprentices, but we've got to have the funds and the time to make sure that we are creating the best teachers that we possibly can. And to help support that, we're looking at 5 pair positions that haven't been filled in a while that are no longer needed. And then, yeah, obviously we're going to find the most qualified candidates and get those applications to KSDE by June 1st.
So the biggest thing that I would say with this apprentice program,
Most of you guys work in business or run a business. What the overall goal is number one, we're going to identify people either coming out of high school or that currently work for us or out in the community that want to become teachers. We have a financial avenue that we can help them become teachers without investing a significant amount of money. On the other end of it, us as a district for a long time, we've hired long-term subs and they've gone through a program and eventually become teachers. We've hired in T2T, transition to teach people that have a bachelor's degree and they go through a program. The big difference and kind of why we held off and we wanted to see how this worked. The way this really truly works is you find your best teacher and in the district, you find 5 of your best teachers and you go and you find 5 people that you think are going to be really great teachers. And you embed them in that classroom with that teacher, and that teacher actually teaches them how to be great teachers. A lot of the stuff that we do, to be frank, we do most everything online nowadays. And that's not a great teaching experience. That's not a great way to learn how to teach. You can read the book and you can do the homework and go through those processes. But the thing that they miss out on is a lot of those experiences that you gain at a physical teaching school. So they're not getting those experiences online. What this does is it takes a K-State or an Emporia State or a 4A State where you are getting those classroom experiences, but it magnifies that even greater because you're doing it every single day for 8 hours a day with the best possible teacher that we can find inside the district. Again, this is no additional cost for the district. We're a 1-for-1, vacating a para position in order to fill this teacher apprentice position. But the thing I will caution you, this is not a para. That's not what we're doing with this. This is somebody in the classroom that is being taught by our best teachers on how to be one of our best teachers. Question?
Is there so they get paired up with a mentor teacher?
Yeah, a guiding teacher.
Guiding teacher. Is there going to be some kind of long-term commitment from the guiding teacher to be there? You said this was a 4-year kind of program.
Yes, at the most, it'll be 4 years, just
Okay.
depending on what kind of experience and education they can get started.
Okay. I just know sometimes having the mentor consistent is a
Yeah.
good thing and help them.
Which will come into play, I think, with the administrator's recommendation. I mean, they're gonna know who is gonna be the most committed person. I mean, obviously, ideally, they're gonna stick with that same person for the full 4 years.
And there will be financial incentive for them as that guiding teacher.
I do agree 100%. It's very effective to get them into the classroom sooner.
Yes.
That's one of the,
It's one of the biggest things that we've seen. You know, we count our lucky stars every single day for every long-term sub that became a teacher and everybody that's gone through a non-traditional pathway. But the biggest problem that we've seen is their first year teaching is their first year teaching.
And they very likely struggled in that first year where
Yeah.
these teachers are not.
Yeah, a lot of these teachers are probably going to end up staying in the same building. They won't stay in the same classroom because that veteran teacher will continue in that classroom, but they probably will still stay in the same building and fill a vacancy somewhere else in that building. And what we're doing is we're putting people in place that we know fit our culture, they fit our values, they fit what we're trying to do because they've been with us for anywhere from 2 to 4 years. We'll get, you know, Leanne and I were talking, we'll get some high school kids apply for this. They may only have 2 years left to complete their program. They may be almost through their associate's degree and only have a couple of years left to complete their program. So they still may come in mid-tier. I think of some of our LIFT students. I think of some of our kids that are going through our education program. Some of those students probably will come in, you know, either year 1 or year 2 of that tier and then get in, and they may only get 2 years of that teaching experience with that guiding teacher as opposed to 4 years with somebody that doesn't have enough college credits to be placed mid-tier.
you guys are comfortable with, sorry, I got a lot of questions, guys. You guys are comfortable with staffing internally and the admin side to manage this and organize this, and are we gonna have to hire anybody else?
No, that's why we're starting with 5.
Okay.
You don't want to bite off.
Yeah, I mean, there is anything that you do with the state of Kansas, there's gonna be a lot of paperwork associated with those things. And so we're afraid if we go and try to do 15, we won't be able to handle, not just us, but at the building level. We want to make sure that these 5 are getting all the attention that they need to get, that they're getting the experience they need to get. As things progress and we create systems and put systems in place and checks and balances in place, yeah, we're gonna ask to eventually ramp up the program. But at this point, that's why we're limiting it to 5, is because we want to be able to know that we can handle the workload.
Do you think that's 5 is for 1 year and then maybe next year, if it's going well, add 2 or 3 more and then
Yeah,
maybe eventually get up to that 10 or 15 number?
that would be our hope, yeah.
And strategically place them in buildings so that one principal isn't overwhelmed by several.
The principals love the idea because they want to grow people internally and know that they're not going to have to go and find, they've got somebody waiting in that pipeline. You know, a year from now, I know I have that person that's going to graduate the program and be ready to go. And I don't have to fill anybody this year.
And a big piece is that reimbursement for tuition, because I do think a lot of our principals have people they've identified as, you know, could be really great teachers, but that person just really doesn't have the means to make it happen. So that'll be a really big piece for it too.
Yeah.
And this will be elementary and secondary? Or
Yes.
just- Yes.
They just have to be in a program. So they can be in an online secondary program, an online elementary program. We track their grades when they sign this commitment. They're also signing a commitment to allow us to have grade reports on them every semester so that we know they're academically keeping up where they need to be. And speaking with a couple other districts that have done this, it's not very often, but there's been times that they've had to drop people from the program because academically they haven't kept up with their coursework. And it is really, I mean, trying to keep up with a full load of coursework. And that's, to be honest with you, one of the things that scared us off at first was the idea they're going to have to keep up with 12 hours of coursework and be a full-time employee for us. We have to find a way to make that balance work.
Who did you speak to that, who else is doing this?
So Dodge is doing 15 and when we talked to Dodge, that was one of their big hesitations. They were like, we shouldn't have started so big. We should have started a lot smaller. And then they're also one of the ones that we spoke to that had a couple kids that struggled with some coursework.
Is there a maximum length of time, like students have to complete this in X number
5
of
years.
years?
4 years.
Is it 4 years?
Yes.
You probably
So-
want a motion tonight. since
Yeah, we are.
this made you-
We are asking for a motion tonight for approval. Again, this will be budget neutral, so there's additional funding that will come from the state, but from our department, it'll be pretty well budget neutral. Just swapping para positions for teacher apprentice positions.
If you're ready for a motion, I'll make the motion. I move to approve the teacher apprentice program as presented.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the TAP program. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries.
We'll come back a year from now and give you guys an update. Hopefully, a year from now, we'll have a lot of success stories and be able to update you guys on how it went. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, item H5, the KISA plan. Deputy Superintendent Josh Guyman and Director of Instruction Heather Stegman.
So you can take one of each of these.
While he's bringing up our PowerPoint, just real quickly, I'll kind of go over, we're going to kind of talk a little bit about how KISA's kind of evolved over the over the last year or so. When we went down the KISA 1.0 path, it was very long, it was very cumbersome, it was like a 50-some page document. There was a lot of work by a lot of individuals. KSDE has really wanted to kind of refine that and make it very, very simple. And instead of doing this huge document and you go through the accreditation cycle every 5 years, now it's a much more simplified plan, but we go through accreditation every year. And so this is the first year where we will do KISA 2.0. And so just so you all kind of understand that. And Heather volunteered to be a KISA facilitator for the state. And so she's kind of gone to all the training, and we kind of did that intentionally with the hope that A, she would be able to support other districts, but B, more importantly, support our district as she kind of knows what's going to be expected when we have to move through these steps. And so she's really kind of our KISA expert. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to her and let her walk you all through the process.
I don't know, are any of you familiar with what KISA is? We're using acronyms.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
KISA is the Kansas Education Supports System, Kansas Education Systems Accreditation. So it's the system by which we get accredited as a school in the state of Kansas. Okay. So go ahead and flip. The state of Kansas gives us some guidelines and recommendations of who should be on our district leadership team. But they limited us to 10 members because we will get together with other school systems and we are limited by space. So we can't show up with 50 people. Dodge City has 50, Liberal has 50, and
Junction City.
Yeah, Junction City, Geary County has 50. It just is not possible. So they want 10 per system. And they refer to districts as systems in KISA. So this was our DLT team that worked on this plan and put it together over the past year. One of the first things they ask us to do is dive into our data. And they do give us a list of questions that we should be looking for answers to those questions within our data that our district has. That's FastBridge, CAP data, but also, what information are we getting from teachers about what's happening in their classrooms? So at the conclusion of that, at that data dive, we came to the conclusion that our student CAP and FastBridge scores are consistently low. We've reported that to you guys multiple times. That's been something that's been ongoing. But our teachers are also concerned that our current ELA instructional materials are not fully aligned to state standards or the science of reading, especially our elementary program. We have been plugging holes in benchmark because it's a balanced literacy approach. And we know that's not the right way to teach kids to read. So as we are coming to our 7-year cycle for textbook adoption for English language arts, this is something we're really wanting to address. And also our teachers have stated that they need high quality engaging resources that address reading, writing, speaking, and listening. I know we get a lot of feedback that our current resources do not have our kids write frequently enough. They need a lot more writing and writing support. So, taking all that information, we then went to the KISA model, which is actually this page that I shared with you. So the first column on the left-hand side are the fundamentals. And the state of Kansas feels like if those 4 things are in place, we are confident that kids will get a quality education at any system in the state. So our focus is to do these 4 things and do them really well. So looking at our data, we then reflected on these 4 fundamentals and thought, where is our gap that we need to fill? And we focused on high quality instruction at the bottom, in particular, those high quality instructional materials. When you finish identifying your fundamental, we then go into the next column, which is structures. And those are the adult actions that support those fundamentals. So when we talk about quality instruction, are we allocating resources to quality instruction? Are we giving teachers feedback and evaluations that improve their quality instruction? Are we providing PD and professional learning that improves the quality of our instruction? So we go through all 6 of those in that way. And we focused on resource allocation because in the next year, we're going to be spending a large chunk of money to improve those instructional materials. And we outlined our process for ELA textbook adoption as our piece of plan for the next year. Those lead indicators are actually just examples that the state gave us that would give us guidance if we wanted to follow them, but we don't have to follow those. So our actual action plan is on the next slide. And this is the actions that we will be working to achieve over the next year. So we're gonna, as a curriculum review committee, will be formed and trained in 2025. We've already achieved that. The committee will consist of a variety of stakeholders. So we have teachers, principals, instructional coaches. We have parent representatives and board members. So we feel like we have a wide variety of stakeholders there. The committee will analyze and select rigorous ELA, high quality instructional materials. And we've started that process on April 21st with our first meeting of our ELA curriculum committee. Then we are looking for materials that align to the science of reading, and we're going to present that to the Board of Education in February of 26. So that's kind of our deadline to complete that. And then purchase those in the spring, so materials are in teachers' hands by the summer. The dates along the bottom are just milestones that we had in that timeline that we presented a couple months ago. April 2025 was our first meeting of the ELA Curriculum Committee. By the end of October 2025, we would like that committee to be coming to consensus about which materials we want to purchase. But we did give until December in case there's not consensus yet. We're giving ourselves a couple months to come to consensus and present their selection to the leadership team. So that would be Josh Guyman, Jessica and Drew and Steve. And then they will approve that so that we can take it on to the board by February of 26 for board approval. So those are kind of those important deadlines along the way. The state does ask us to set a milestone for 6 months and 1 year so that we can kind of keep track of, are we making progress to achieve this in time? So our 6-month target was to have those curriculum options narrowed to 3, which we've already achieved that. We're already there. We've selected Houghton Mifflin's Into Reading, which is the elementary version. High school version is Into Literature. Savvis, My View is the elementary version, and My Perspectives is the secondary version. And then CKLA Amplify is our elementary and through grade 8 curriculum option. And then next one. We also are supposed to project what we think we will want to do the following year. So once we select those high quality instructional materials, we're going to shift to then focusing on the structure of professional development, because teachers are going to need a lot of professional learning and professional development and how to use those materials effectively. Ideally, we would like to start that professional development in April because we have an April Professional Development Day, and that would give teachers kind of a head start before they enter the summer. But for sure, the August back to school PD will have a lot to do with ELA curriculum. And then throughout the school year, we'll meet during PLCs and district PD days to refine our practices and how we're using those materials. That's it. Do you guys have any questions for me?
So I would say a couple of other things. One of the things that a really big piece to this, before we bring this to you all for your approval, is that we need to make sure that we're getting stakeholders involved. And so as we went through this plan and we kind of refined it at our KISA day that we had in Sublette in April, March?
March 6th.
Yeah, in March. we brought that back and we shared it with all of the administrators at SAC and kind of went through all that. And then the administrators took that back to their building, shared it with their DLT and with their site councils so that we could get all stakeholders involved. And we actually had our last site council meeting was today at 8:30. And so you all are the last piece, and then with your approval, we'll submit tomorrow our plan to the state.
And actually, this document is what we kind of summarized and provided to principals to share with stakeholders. It's basically a summary of the PowerPoint that we just shared.
Questions?
Does this have anything to, I know with letters training, we're still doing that, that will continue.
Yes.
I mean, I know we have to change curriculum, but I'm
So-
putting a lot of load on the teachers all at once, you know. I don't-
Yeah. So letters is like the the science of reading. And so the curriculum will be the material that we use to teach using the philosophy of letters, basically, would be what that would look like. And so our district, we have a policy where we go through and we update curriculum every 7 years. And so ELA just happened to fall, which is good timing because we're in need of updating just like Heather said, our curriculum doesn't really meet the science of reading in a lot of areas. And so that's why we've had to go with UFly and Haggerty and do all of those other things, was to try to plug some of the holes that we were missing through the curriculum that we selected, because when we selected that, we were still doing a balanced literacy approach. And so.
And most of our teachers will have completed letters training by the end of this year. So we feel like, going into the next year, especially the people that are on that ELA adoption committee, we wanted people that had been in letters training because they know what to look for in those curriculum materials, so that we can have the right tools in teachers' hands that's going to make them more effective and make it less difficult for them to meet kids' needs. I know one thing we hear from teachers a lot is there's not like intervention or tier 2 and tier 3 supports in our current curriculum resources. And all three of the curriculums we're currently looking at have much stronger supports. So they'll have materials for teachers to support kids who are not doing it or learning it easily, or needing that extra support.
Mike, I have a question, not about the KISA plan, but in the curriculum adoption and the work you guys in the committee have done so far, what resources have you been using to evaluate, three you've narrowed it down to, how strongly they align with the science of reading?
So we've used a lot of third-party review sites. There are companies that are paid, that's their full-time job, is to dive into all of those different aspects and give you impartial feedback on how those curriculums meet those components. So like Ed Reports, for example, I think we have all gone to Ed Reports as educational systems and looked and said, oh, it's green. But the state's been training us to really get in and dive more closely, because if you get into the reports, it'll tell you all these different components, how those curriculums are meeting that or not. So for the curriculums we've chosen, most of them are like 4 out of 4 or 6 out of 6 on almost all of those components, but there are a few that they are not as strong. So I believe it was Savis, the MyView curriculum, one of their weak areas is it gives questions, but they're not progressively more complex. So they may be the same level of complexity. That doesn't mean they're easy questions, but the Ed Reports is looking for them to go from easier to then more complex. And since they don't do that, and it's pretty consistent that at every grade level, they are not fully rated on that standard. That's something we need to consider. Is that a big thing for Garden City, or is that not a deal breaker for us? And so we're, diving into that. And there's a lot. I mean, I think there's 3 gateways, and then under each of those gateways, I think it went from like A to I, and some of them from A to S. So there's a lot of different things they're breaking down and giving us detailed feedback on. And so we're really trying to use that as a starting point. I know the secondary representative that we had, seventh and eighth grade from Kenneth Henderson. She's already gone back with her building because she spent the day, getting into those reports and identifying areas of weakness for each curriculum. And they've already gone back to their building and started meeting as a department to talk about that and try to decide, is this a deal breaker for us, or is this something we can address within our staff? So they've had some really good conversations already.
If you guys can make a motion,
Like action taken.
yeah, if we could.
I'll make the motion to approve piece of presentation.
Moving second to move forward with the Keystone plan as presented. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H6, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the bid to replace the marquee sign in front of Buffalo Jones Elementary School. Sign plus in the amount of $24,100 to include installation. CFO Jessica Nolly.
Okay, during every year, we do a district-wide furniture and equipment request process where a certain amount is allocated for bigger purchases that the buildings can't necessarily afford out of their cost center. So this was really my first year to do the whole process, and in doing so, 2 different schools had put new marquee signs on the list. And so the committee is me, a gal in my office, and 3 principals. And in looking at this, we started to look at in one hand, you kind of want to disperse the money evenly between buildings, but then nobody ever gets a big purchase, right? So I kind of wanted to change the mindset to really use these funds for big purchases. So Buffalo Jones had requested, he had called me before the request came in and offered to allocate the rest of his cost center money plus his capital outlay money if we would do the balance out of furniture and equipment district-wide. So in talking to the committee, we decided that in looking at the different building signs, that a lot of them are very outdated. And this is something that we need to start to invest in little by little, so we don't have 18 signs that need done. So for Ben's sign, we allocated 15,000, and that's what he had. That's what he needed to be able to complete the purchase. And then the other one that we did, we used all the funds left over after we had kind of gone through the request and we had vetted out who needs what are wants, what are needs. And what we kind of looked at the past 2 years of how much each building had got in the district-wide funds and decided to use the balance for KH. KH had also put in a request that just said, give me what you can for a marquee sign. So they are not looking to purchase one at this time. They want to wait until rollover and use some of next year's funds. But we did allocate close to 14,000 that was left with these budgeted funds for KH. So that'll be the next one coming. So this Ben got 3 different bids. This is the one he would like. He did coordinate with Brandon and his crew on whether they need to install it or whether our guys could install it, but it was decided that it would be best if they installed it, use their warranty, all that. But Brandon is aware of what is needed as far as the line that needs ran and is good with that. So it is recommended to go with Signs Plus bid for 24-1. You can take action tonight or you can wait. The quote is good for 30 days and came in on April 29th. So whatever you guys want to do.
So the bid is 24-1 for the installation as well.
Yep, that's all. That includes the installation, the warranty, all of it. Thanks.
Okay, item I, board open discussions. Andy, you're up.
Not a whole lot tonight. I'd like to congratulate the students from Grove City High School and their K. awards. Great for those students to take that initiative and apply for that, end up receiving that award. Our district winning that award on local students 2 years in a row is really great. And then I also want to just thank the students from Gertrude Walker for coming and not only leading the pledge tonight, but giving their building update. So, that's all I have.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I'd like to add, what Mr. Burnfin said about Julie. She's amazing. She's touched so many lives in this community and that for so many years, and it definitely deserves recognition, for sure. We're getting close to the end of the year. It's calendar's filling up with getting ready to about be done, so looking forward to all of that. That's it. Rob?
It's always nice when the kids are here and to have such a different variety of things today to see, the little ones and up to the bigger ones. Seeing that there's success all the way through, that's nice. I heard some really great things from teachers about is that the Monday after Easter, and about the professional development that we did. Really positive comments about that. So that always makes us happy. And yeah, when I get my emails from Jennifer, it's like, oh my gosh, there's another thing. You guys have a busy month. All I got.
Mark?
Agree with what's already been said. The Gertrude Walker presentation, it's always nice to hear from our students. Enjoy that. The teacher apprentice program, Grow Our Own, look forward to that. Hopefully that's a successful program. And we can continue on and add to that as the years go by here, but really look forward to that. You're up, Nate.
Well, I definitely agree. Like we've already said, a lot of things have been said. I appreciate everybody and the students coming and all that's going on. Excited about our accreditation, making sure we keep that up, and that was a big thing when I was a teacher, to be able to be a part of that. And so I know it takes a lot of work, so I appreciate the work you guys are doing to make that happen every year and get that going forward. It is exciting to see the creativity awards there from our students, getting involved in that, getting some recognition of their hard work and getting involved in that. So I very much appreciate that and that presentation as well. It's interesting to see the college classes coming into our schools and stuff. So my daughter's taking a dual credit class, and so I think it's very different from when I was in high school and whatnot, and just a little bit interesting thing, but fun to see that happen as well. And this is, Teacher Appreciation Week. Tomorrow is Teacher Appreciation Day nationally, and so want to say huge thanks to all of our teachers and our staff that are there on a day-to-day basis in the classrooms, and the pairs that are right along with them. And so the board knows this, but I have not got them all delivered yet, but every teacher and every staff member across the whole district will have an appreciation bag from us. So I want to make sure, if I've not gotten your building yet, I'm getting there. So we'll have those out tomorrow, and the rest of those. I want to say huge thanks to everybody making this system work well for the best education for all of our kids. So. All I got.
John?
Yeah, I just agree with all that. I would just like to say, thank you to our staff and all of our teachers as well. I know we're to the end of the school year. It's been a long year, and we got a lot of extra activities and events in May. And I just want to thank them all for making those special for the kids and finishing the year strong.
Jackie?
Really don't have much else, being last. Kind of
Yeah.
sucks. But yeah, thanks to everybody and lots of things happen at the end of the year. Get it all done. Building. No.
Dr. Dominguez?
Yes, Teacher Appreciation Week, there's a lot of trust and love that goes out from the teachers to our students and community back to the teachers. And there's a lot of capacity there, a lot of trust, a lot of capacity that actually makes the system go quicker. And Drew, I appreciate Drew sticking with the Teacher Apprentice Program because we need to be the mentors. We need to be the internships. So this is a good jumping off point, continue to grow our people and see talent, identify the talent, put them with people that can mentor them and move them forward. And that just, it's going to pay huge dividends for us. The KISA plan, I think it's been articulated, but it used to be a 5-year accreditation. You know, every 5 years. Now it's an annual accreditation. So there's going to be a lot more touch points related to that. And actually one of our own is going to be leading that. Dr. Nugent will be the next academic person for the state. So that'll be good. Besides the reading will pay dividends. It is a lot of work. It's going to be work, and we're not going to shy away from that, but it is going to be work. It's going to be better for our students. Love the high school students, clearly, and creativity, and then our younger students getting to show their articulation also. But baccalaureate, Pastor Heck is kind of leading the charge on that one. May 11th this Sunday at 3 p.m. at the high school auditorium also. Of course, we do have our graduations and all coming forward. So a lot of things to celebrate in Garden City Public Schools where everyone leads.
Thank you. Okay, item J, the next board meeting of the Board of Education will take place on Monday, May 19th at 6 p.m. here in the board meeting room at the Educational Support Center. Item K, executive session.
Jessica says 10 minutes.
Mr. President, I move we go into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss negotiations. Pursuant to exception for employer-employee negotiations with Oklahoma beginning at 7:40 p.m. The open meeting will resume the board meeting at 7:50 p.m. Elected by Dr. Dominguez, Dr. Garvin, Dr. Jessica Alvin, executive session.
Second that.
Moved and seconded to move into executive session. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same, motion carries.